All right, what's up? What's up, Chris?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me here.
So basically, to make a long story short, Chris and I have known each other for a long time, right?
It's been about, 15 years?
Probably around that. And, we went to high school together, all that. And this is the Same Difference podcast. Same Difference with Chris and Chris. It's a fun little creative venture for us. And so basically, I think, again, to make a long story short, you and I, it's kind of funny. We're getting older and we'll get into it. We're so busy. We got families and things like that. So, whenever we get the chance to link up with friends and stuff like that, I feel like you and I just always found ourselves like continuing like the conversation after like if we went out for a night, it would be either like Instagram messages or text messages or sometimes even phone calls. And then for like within the past 2 years, there's like 2 or 3 times where like, dude, we should start a podcast.
100%.
We should put this on a podcast. And even just the most recent time we got together, which unfortunately we're getting older. It's like here and there, but it was like, dude, we should just, I think it was like by the third time you were like, bro, let's start a podcast. It just kind of clicked. I was like, let's do it, dude,
Yeah. And that's a great point. I think the general consensus is you and I have a very similar but different path. Obviously, we have both struggled with some certain things in our past, and then being able to kind of grow as 2 men, start families. Obviously, the discipline and fitness that's brought us both some great success. But I think at the end of the day, to your point, it's just incredible to see your growth and then to see my growth from where we were to where we are now. So
thank you, bro. No, I love the way you put that, and that's exactly what it was. It's crazy, man. Like I said, like it's we just found ourselves like having these like paragraph conversations, dude, just going off, and I'm like, dude, this belongs on a podcast,
It does, and I don't think me or you are trying to be somebody we're not. We're just talking from real life experience, and obviously I've had my fair share of experience. You've had your fair share. We've had friends go in different directions, but I think at the end of the day, being consistent in our nature and what we're passionate about has led us to the men we are today. And I feel like it's important to kind of get our message out there and just show how authentic we are to the crowd and to people and to our friends and to support people.
For sure, bro. I mean, you said that way better than I could have even began to. So that's super cool. But yeah, man, I just think if we were going to chop it up and talk about a few things, I think the first thing that really jumps into my mind that's super consistent between the two of us is like fitness. So I guess if I were to ask you and stuff like, what's your fitness routine, right? Like at this stage of your life, like how's things been going? I have a fun question I want to ask you.
Sure.
In regards to fitness, with also having a big family, but in general, like what's your routine like right now as a 35? You're 35, right?
No, I just turned 34.
34. So as a 34-year-old man, like what's your fitness routine? And I know I know you're humble. You got the hoodie on, but Chris is in sick shape, so. It's always been dope to see that. So what's your routine like right now?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. So it's definitely changed a lot over the past decade. I will say, being a 24-year-old young buck versus now being a family man with 4 kids, I think consistency is the most important factor in my routine. It is you just showing up 4 days a week, no matter what, how you feel, and being able to actually just go and put in the work. It's a very consistent split. It's a full body split. 45 minutes in, 45 minutes out.
Yeah.
And being able to just, like I said, make sure you hit those quality essential movements. I don't focus so much on the bodybuilding split anymore. Really, mostly important for me, it's just my mental health. I had a pretty big setback this past year with my back surgery. That really did humble me. I really had to start from the ground up and getting back to the basics of just showing myself that, you can get through this. But I will say it was a grueling process. So to answer your question, again, it's just 4 days a week, 45 minutes, making sure that I'm always hitting each body part, and then making sure I'm just showing up. I think showing up is half the battle.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, there's a lot I want to unpack with like what you just said. Because the other big thing that I forgot to mention that we both relate on is our back problems and like our back pain, you know what I mean? Which is crazy. Which I feel like maybe like 7 out of 10 men across the country could relate to that.
100%.
But what I would say for me for like fitness, like my current routine right now, and I'm curious because it's crazy. Even right now, I was just thinking of you this morning. I'm back on the Chris Mastro diet. I think I've been doing the intermittent fasting kind of just naturally found its way back into my routine just within these past few months. And I'm like doing that and I feel so good. But anyways, like my routine right now, I'm like kind of like, I'm in the like most consistent, like most productive routine in that area of my life that I've ever been. I'm super locked in with everything. Like in terms of lifting, I actually only lift like 3 days a week. I do a
that's
full body split.
Yeah, same.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I love what you said about like the 45-minute thing. I mean, sometimes I'm in and out 35 minutes. Like
That's
boom.
all you need.
Yeah, so I do my lifts, but what's been really fun for me within the last 2 years that I picked up was running. So I'm obsessed with running right now.
How do you run with your lower back?
Dude, I just do it, and that's why I do it, because of my back.
And it doesn't hurt?
I just went for my run this morning, right in the snow. It was awesome. No, it doesn't hurt.
That's incredible.
And the thing about, so we must have like, technically we might have like a different issue with our backs, but like the whole thing for me, the reason why I am as active as I am is because of my back. If I just
100%.
sit too
No,
long,
that's a valid
if I
point.
sit there and think about it, like, oh, my back sucks. Like, I can't even tell you how many times, dude, even just going for like a skateboarding session, like I'll get up out of my office chair and I'm like, dude, this is bad. I don't know what's happening. And like, I'll just force myself to do it.
Dude, let's back up for a sec, because that is such a valid point.
Yeah.
Movement is medicine.
Dude,
and motion is lotion. I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but
no, for real.
To your point, man, I think when I fixate on it, right, like even right now, I'm sitting here in this chair, I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little stiff, but I think to your point, if you continuously move,
Pause. Go ahead.
if you continuously move, to your point, and just you're going out, you're doing something active, just takes your mind off that pain.
Yeah,
it's night and day difference, man.
Dude,
and I will say, like, I don't know about you, but the mornings are the worst. Just getting out of bed, I feel stiff, and then once I get going, I feel 10 times better. So I think it's all about your mind, and how you set your day up is really going to lead to a better day for back pain too.
Dude, for what I would say the mornings and nights are pretty bad. And that's why I wake up so early and do what I do. Like, I wake up during the winter right now. Like, today's like a 4:30 day for me, but other than that, it's usually pretty consistent. 5 a.m.
That's
good to go.
Earlier than me.
Yeah, and then I'm also, my workouts. So my fiance, she leaves for work at like 7:30, so I got to be like done with all that stuff by 7:30. So I like to refer to them as like my non-negotiable tasks, right?
100%.
So, but like with my fitness stack, so like I said, I'll do my lifts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, my runs Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then speaking about back pain, when I really leaned into wanting to take care of it and get ahead of it, I started going to physical therapy. So they set me up with this nice stretching routine. So I do that 7 days a week now too.
Good
So
for you.
like an average morning would be like lift, sit in the sauna, come home, stretch. Opposite day would be run, get inside, either cold plunge or cold shower.
I was going to say cold plunge is so key.
Yep, stretching every day. And then on top of that, what I add into my stack too, which I like to consider part of fitness, is also like reading. So I read Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays and Sundays. I read for like 10, 20 minutes, whatever works for me. Just, for the way I read, like, I have a little set pace where I know I'm going to start to trail off. So I'll just do my thing, like, just to absorb it as best I can.
ADD for me, man.
Yeah. So it's like reading, and then the other things that I've been doing this year is like I signed up for a boxing gym. So
I saw that
because I love that stuff. I love doing that, and then also skateboarding is also something I throw in the mix too.
See all of it.
And I've also fully realized, and I won't go too back and too into it. Whatever, I think you remember like a few years ago, I like lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
And I did that through skateboarding.
Yeah.
It was crazy because like right after the pandemic, I got on my skateboard and it just tore my hair. It just tore my heart apart. Like it took me like 45 minutes just to even get my legs moving to do a kickflip. I'm like, this is not right, bro.
That's been going on since you were in middle school. I mean, you were
for sure. But that's the point. I was like, dude, are you telling me I'm considering myself like an athlete? I'm a gym guy, and I can't even get on my skateboard and do a kickflip. Something's wrong. And it was just my back. I was bloated, stiff, stuffed up. So, like to my point, as I'm saying, like all these things just keep the glue together for me between running, stretching, all that stuff. So yeah, like you said, just stay moving. It's just been so huge for me.
100%. And having that big family too is hard to maintain. How do you?
Well, that's I want to get to that because I want to ask you a question about that. But so what I wanted to ask you was, because you have a big family, you have a lot of kids, so do I. And I know you've been a gym guy forever too. So how did you go about putting your foot down and setting a precedent within your family circle of like, hey, look, the gym is like, this is important for me. This is what I do. There might be some times that I'm going to walk out the door while we're busy, but I got to get my gym in. Like, how did you go about that with your family?
Oh man, I love that question. And here's the thing is, so my natural time where I wanted to work out was from 5 to 7. I used to have a lifting, but no, 5 p.m. Yeah, of course. That's just when my genetic makeup decided that I wanted to go to the gym was 5 to 7. I don't know why, just after a long work day or whatever it may be. Yep. So to answer your question, I think, being consistent and being flexible with, the communication I had with my wife, Mary Kate, and saying, this is the time that I want to go, but in her eyes, it's not conducive to the family lifestyle just
Sure.
because, we have the kids, getting them out of daycare, getting them out of school, dinner, prep work, bath time, bedtime. It's the same 5 to 9 routine every night. But I think me just being able to make that shift to a morning workout versus the afternoon has been crucial. And it's, again, if something's important to you, you're going to get it done.
No, for sure.
And even if it's only 45 minutes to an hour, I'm still going to get up before the kids are up and go to the gym to make sure that I am getting that off my checklist for the day, and it sets me up for success. I hate to say this, but that's probably my favorite part of the day is going to the gym.
Me too.
We'll get into the my job and what I do for a living after, 100%. But corporate America, isn't it? I respect people like yourself that are in entrepreneurship.
Dude, I respect you equally.
I respect. I'm trying to get out of it, but someday.
No, I respect you equally, bro, and I definitely want to dive into that, but yeah, I mean, just to like share my side of the experience with that, like when it comes to fitness, that's like, so how long would you say you've been in the gym? I feel like you started doing push-ups when you got out the womb, bro. Like for real. But like,
nah, I'll be honest, and it's really started in college. 19, I obviously, in high school, I think I was bullied. I was the kicker on the football team.
Okay.
Well underweight. I was playing with a bunch of older guys that were 17, 18. I was 14 on the varsity football team, so I didn't develop until later, but I would say when I came back for my freshman year, people were like, well, what happened to Mastro?
Yeah.
But I just decided, I wanted to gain more confidence. I think like a lot of men do. I wanted to be able to test my limits. And again, I think, really 19 is when I really started. So 19 to 34. And then obviously with some blips in the road. So it's going on, I can't do the math here, but what is it? 13 years.
14
15?
years.
No, 14. Wait, 20. Yeah,
Wait,
no, it's like 14 years, give or take.
Yeah,
so we'll round down, whatever.
Perfect. That's crazy, bro, because that's like honestly pretty much the same timeline for me.
Yeah.
So just like, I would say like the first like physical obsession that I ever jumped into obviously was skateboarding for me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so funny because when I was a kid, I remember my mom would be like, I would come home from skating all day and she'd be like, oh, that's probably such a good workout. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you just don't,
dude,
you don't look at it like that. She's like, it must be so good for your core and your legs. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just skating. Yeah. But like, first of all, I just want to say like I owe everything in my life to skateboarding, physically, creatively, both good and bad, unfortunately. But I just want to say like, to your point, like, man, I lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
I was saying,
the age-wise.
Age-wise, yeah.
So basically like, I think when I started to change and be into more things, like, I was always like, because coming from being a skateboarder, that was always like frowned upon. Like, it was always back in that day, it was skaters versus jocks.
Well, things have changed so much.
Things have changed, which I'm glad we're in an amazing spot now,
100%,
which I will get into. It's funny, but like, just for me, like I would skate obsessively every single day. And when I started to get a little older and had a little bit more, ambitions and desires, like the gym was like a perfect like mesh for me getting in the
100%.
gym. And it was just so like around the same time, I had some inconsistency between like 19 and early 20s, but the gym has always been super present and consistent in my life, and it made so much sense for me as a skateboarder. And I've gone through so many different relationships with the gym. Like, back then it was like I want to get jacked, I want to get bulked up.
You just read my mind.
Yeah, I want to get bulked up.
You just read it.
So I went through all these different phases of trying different routines. And just to your point, we were talking about the time. Like I think I've pretty much had a consistent gym routine at every time frame you could mention. I think
for sure
in my mid to late 20s, a sweet spot for me when I had things under full control would be like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. I always thought was really good. But, fast forward, the one thing I've never been able to do successfully was the nighttime lifts. I hate that. I don't know how you did the PM stuff.
I love the PM stuff.
I can't do it, dude. I can't do it at all. But
I think because it's obviously different, when you're working all day, you're like, I just want I want something to look forward to. And I will say, to your point, it was when I started to have a bigger family that shifted. Obviously, when I had my first two, it was like, okay, you can still make this work. I had a gym buddy.
Yeah.
But once that kind of got more progressive, I grew up. It was more of like, you can't fit this in at this time just because it's not conducive to your work style and life work. But no, I want to back up on a point you said. You said you had a lot of the routines over the years trying to figure out why, and I love that, Chris, because I had the similar problem. As my first goal was to, obviously get jacked, different different priorities. And now in my life later, it's more of just overcoming injuries, but
for sure,
really just the number one word, as I will say, is just consistency for me, and just
Yeah,
making it a priority.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not trying to be the biggest guy in the room. I'm not trying to be
For
the
sure.
strongest. And I think for younger guys in their 20s, that can be a detriment, because you see all this thing on social media where, people are enhanced, they're doing things, and it puts yourself in a different headspace. And for me, I mean, I don't know about you, but I compare myself to everybody, and I think it's human nature. I try not to, but, being consistent, and the number one word is acceptance. And that has been huge in my recovery from, we'll get into that topic after, but sobriety. But I think acceptance is a big thing for me. And, the older I get, the more comfortable I feel in my own skin. And that has been a very, very hard topic for me.
I agree. Same here.
In the beginning. But
yeah, that's crazy you say that, because I dealt with exactly that. Like for me, dude, going from the skate park to getting in the gym with dudes like the John and John, like picture that, bro. I'm like 145 pounds.
We gotta get them on.
Like we
gotta get John on here sometime.
We will, but I like honestly feel like I still have like I feel like my right shoulder is injured just from being a dumb 20-year-old who got thrown into the gym, seeing John and John, and John would be like, bro, just do it. And I'm like trying to bench like way more than I could. Yeah. So
we got to shout out John Washington.
Yeah, shout out
that
John.
Dude is the genetic freak.
For sure.
He really is, man.
But yeah, no, it's just like my relationship with fitness. It's always been there, but definitely my priorities have always changed.
So much.
Early 20s was like I want to get. I went through a phase where
it's the same.
Even late 20s, I went through a phase where I was like, I want to just push myself to see how strong I can get.
Same here.
Got to a certain point, and I'm like, all right, let me scale back. And then now, where I'm at in my life right now, like I said, I like to refer to a lot of that stuff as like my non-negotiable tasks for the day, and it's just the best way to start my day is get all that stuff. I am like literally like a ornery 13-year-old. If I don't get my first few hours in the day to get my stuff done, get my gym done, shave my head, take my cold shower, read my book, get my businesses going for the day, get my social media stuff going for the day, if I can have all of that done and good to go by like 8:30, 9 a.m. so that I can just show up and do what I need to do for my responsibilities.
Yes.
It's like I don't understand how you couldn't do that. Like it's so integral to, like you said, consistency, to just be consistent, show up, get these things done. And like, not to be corny and steal something from Joe Rogan, but like one of the things that I related to so much when he said this, when he was like, I just feel like as a man, like you gotta go through some sort of fight every day. Some sort of like, you gotta get in the gym and get it out. You gotta get on your skateboard. You gotta do what you do, your snowboard, whatever it is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I related to that. Like, I feel like you kind of just gotta get it out of your system at least once through the day, whether it be the morning, whether it be the night. For me right now, it's non-negotiable. I have to get all my stuff done in the morning, and I love that. I prefer it. I've always been a morning person. I was that kid when I was a teenager, blowing everybody up at like 7 a.m.
I was still sleeping until.
I've always been a morning person.
I was a night owl.
And at this point in my life too, now that I'm getting older, I'm getting better at going to bed earlier. It's tough with all the kids, but,
for sure.
But like, yeah.
Now, how do you? Let's pivot there, because like obviously family's a big part of our stories too. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the discipline for the gym and the priorities. How do you manage and balance the family life? Like, what is your...
For sure. So in earlier times of my life, I didn't balance it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like I wasn't locked in.
Yeah, for sure.
There was times where, like I said, my tasks would spill over into other areas of my life where my girl's got the baby in her hand, and babe, I'm going to the gym. Like, sorry.
Oh,
you know what I mean? But
facts.
I think as a man, just through maturity and getting older and realizing now, I think the ultimate manly thing to do would be to show up, make sure all your responsibilities are taken care of.
Yes.
And then, but if you can take care of yourself on top of that, that's the big dog stuff. So for me, that's exactly like getting up at 4 and getting all my stuff done, so that 8 a.m. when it's time to help out and put the kids on the bus, all my stuff's done. It's all good. I took care of my stuff.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I think I definitely just, from a mature standpoint, realized at one point, like, that's the right thing to do. Is like,
absolutely.
You don't get extra credit for doing what you're supposed to do, right? So I had to like shift this mindset of like, walking around like, man, I go to the gym, I'm better than everybody, but it's like, if you're better than everybody when your responsibilities are all well taken care of, plus you're taking.
It's so funny you say all this thing. All these things are resonating with me, because like, even though obviously we haven't, we don't hang out on a daily basis, but like all these things you're saying hit so close to home for me. Like,
because we're fathers, we're leaders.
I feel this, but I felt the same way. As to your point, is like there was a certain time where it's like the gym is my number one priority. I don't care. I'm not gonna, I don't care about what's, she's got the kids, but like to your point, is that's not conducive to a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and it takes a big man to own that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially guys like us that we need the gym to like function mentally, physically. We need this
for sure.
But like you also have to show up for your wife, your fiance, whatever.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the strong women are crucial in this too, as they support us. I mean, you got, like I said, having 4 kids, having 5 kids, and you have one on the way. It's incredible what, women do too. I want to make sure I shout out to them because they are the rock and support 100%. In both of our lives. I feel like, I mean, if you don't have a strong woman, then
and that's why I asked you that question about what you did to like put your foot down. For me, man, I'm just so lucky and fortunate that we have a really good support system with our family too.
We do too.
Yeah, which is so crucial. So like for me, I think just through trial and error, like I just realized like, all right, it's really great that I have this support system, but again, I need to make sure I'm doing these things that I need to do for me on my own time. It's not fair to put that on somebody else. So,
no, it's not.
So that's why another reason why I get up and do what I do early in the morning, just get it done. But I think what was the question you asked me about? You said something about what was the question you asked me? I want to make another point on that.
I asked how you kind of incorporate
balance.
Yeah, balance in like your kids. Like obviously you got a lot. They've all different ages. They're in different school settings. Like how do you balance like your family time and like just being able to, show up and be a dad?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I struggle with that too,
Me
especially
too.
when they were younger. As they're getting older, it's easier.
Yeah.
But the younger ones, I always had trouble just sitting still with them.
Oh my God, I know. I can't, especially when we're younger and our 20s jacked up on pre-workouts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Come home from the gym, you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
dude, trust me, I'm the same way. Especially me, I've always felt like I'm a real wiry dude.
Me too. I can't sit still.
I can't sit still
Me too.
But just to your point, or to answer your question, pretty simply, like I said, like through my 20s and stuff, I didn't balance it. I was constantly all over the place, and then just within the last few years, being so locked in and scheduled and consistency, like I live by my routines.
Yeah.
So that allows
everything.
me to be able to show up. I get up, get my stuff done, and I'm mentally free and clear to where, okay, now I can be present. I can sit here with the baby. I can do what I need to do.
Yes, sir.
But I will admit, I'm not great with it.
Yeah.
I do, I try and like cut my work off by a certain time of the day, but it spills over all the time.
Yeah.
It is tough. And I haven't fully figured it out. I'm trying.
No, we were all trying. We're all trying.
I mean? Like so I'd like to ask you the same question too. Like, I think for me, the bit, to answer your question too, also, I've like this current stage of my life right now, I've definitely just leaned into and understood that I'm going to have to live unbalanced, unfortunately, for a few years to accomplish what I want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Certain relationships are going to suffer, and it just is what it is.
Absolutely.
And I'm just praying that it all works out and that I can be like, hey, look, I did what I needed to do. Here we are. And I've seen a lot of those results. Like I've been able to, put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and be like, look, I said that this was going to happen. It happened. Here we are. Not going to, like here we are. And so that's what it is for me. I'm just kind of like, I'm still trying to figure it out every day, but I just try and do the best I can. And I think it's tough to get sucked into that phase where you're just kind of like you said, we talked about like being in the office all the time and this and that and drooling off. So or dozing off, whatever. So like for me, it's just trying to be productive. But I think doing things like we said, like getting up and doing these things, that always like puts me in this, I feel like it's like stacking wins for the day. So I show up by 9 o'clock. I'm like, I've already stacked these couple wins that I know other people aren't doing. Like I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. I can handle whatever.
Yeah, no, that is spot on. And I want to actually ask you another question: is how do you maintain or manage time with your girl? Because like that's very hard topic with us too. Is we don't ever have time, especially, I don't know about you, but like I love my wife and I want to have that one-on-one time. And she's like, at the end of the day, she says these things like I'm touched out or like I don't want to, I don't want to. Hang out or, I just want to go to bed. And I get that, but like, I think it's important too in a marriage and whatever it is, a marriage or relationship to find time to be able to, be with your partner. And one of the things that me and my wife have trying to do is we're trying to have a non-negotiable, like you said, is one night a month to get out.
Dope.
We have not been consistent the past couple months. It's just been hard with a newborn. Mm-hmm. But I think, in any relationship, it's important you have those one-on-one nights out without the kids because they consume so much of your darn time, it's hard. I love them to death, but it's just like,
of course.
I think men and women are programmed different where I just want my woman's attention half the time. And and she's focusing on the kids and I'm focusing on the kids, but like, we're a little bit more simple creatures.
For me,
how do you?
We already talked about like having such a good support system. And, for me, like I just feel like, especially now that I'm, maturing and growing and realizing how much, how much of our workload we do put on our support system. So
Yes.
for me, it's always tough because it's like, my support system's already watching the kids like during the week and stuff. So to ask for
Your kids go to daycare?
no, my
that's awesome.
fiance's mother watches them. So shout out to her. She's a
That's
blessing,
incredible.
bro. That's what I'm saying. So like,
Saves you some money there.
yeah. So it's just like, dude, she's awesome and she understands. We need time for just her and I too. But for that, when she's already been with the kids all week, and then for us to ask additionally, because especially we're carrying our work with us through the weekend all the time as entrepreneurs. My fiance works full time, but she's also an entrepreneur herself. So
I know
it's kind of like
hustlers.
sometimes on the weekends we might even need extra help for that. And so then to ask like, hey, can we go out to dinner too? It's like we got to pick and choose our spots.
We're the same way.
Long story short, we really don't get a lot of time. Like just her and I, we go out, her and I, maybe like once or twice a year, dude. And that's just what it is right now.
It's
and we're
fine,
both
man.
cool with it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'll say too, again, like you said, not to sound corny or whatever, but like my fiance, like she from day one, dude, I genuinely enjoy her company. I never get sick of her.
Yeah, same
so
here.
like
Same
even
here.
if we're just able to get like a few minutes at night, the kids pass out and we're just chilling on the couch, like I'm good with that. Same thing, a couple minutes in the morning, we're not saying much, but whatever. Like I genuinely, I don't even care if we're stuck in a car and just sitting there. Like we just genuinely enjoy each other's company.
Man.
We get along. We rarely argue. It's just like we just do the best we can, bro. And we love our kids. We love the time with our kids. So it's like it's just one of those things. We just make it work, man.
Yeah, and even in the concept of same difference with me and you, it's like from where we were, and not to get into the details of our past relationships, but I think me and you both, we weren't ready to settle down, but then we found these two women that completely changed. I mean, I'm not gonna, she changed my whole perspective on relationships and women, and for her, it's like I only have eyes for her, man, and I understand, like obviously there's people that struggle, but I think marriage relationships, they take work too, just like the gym. It takes work, man.
Does,
it's not, and people,
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's just because it's just a fact, man. A lot of people struggle these days with trying to keep things interesting, but at the end of the day, it's the work you continue to put in every day, and knowing that person has been there for you through ins and outs. It's not going to be always easy, but no, she's seriously, she changed my whole perspective, and that's a lot of the reason why we'll get into it after why I got sober too. I'll tell you the story after.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because just like how you said, like it takes work. That's something that's been super clear to me too within the last few years. It's like, all right, same way I prioritize time to hit the gym and lock in on my business, like I gotta prioritize time to show up as well as a father, as a partner. Like just to give you a small little micro example without like whatever oversharing, but like my fiance, she texted me the other day, like she's 6.5 months pregnant, bro. The holidays are stressful enough, especially on the women.
God bless her.
She like for me, I've realized, like if I look down at my phone, I see a slew of paragraphs of like yada 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 this and I'm stressed about this. I'm like, all right, you know what? Everything's gonna have to go. If I don't take care of this, then I can't. I can't show up for my business, whatever. So, all right, let me put my phone down. Let me put everything on pause. Went home straight up. All right, kids, we got to lock in. Like if we don't pitch in to help out, we're not having Christmas. That simple. Let's go. Boom. So it's just like you said, like sometimes you really just gotta prioritize. Like, all right, I got to do my job as a partner, as a father. Same way I'm dedicated to my job, my business, my fitness routine, my hobbies. Like I gotta prioritize. I gotta do this, or else nothing else works.
Yeah, no, that's super valid. I don't mean to keep transitioning, but dive into your job a little bit, because like the entrepreneur mindset. Obviously, like I'm familiar with what entrepreneurs do, but like talk me through your day to day, like what sources of not source of income, but like what different businesses you're running, and how you've kind of navigated that, and how's that progressed through the years.
So the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, and something that's become so clear to me this year, it's so coinciding with everything we're talking about. The something that became extremely clear to me through failure in entrepreneurship a few years ago was how whatever business, whatever creative venture, whatever entrepreneurial venture you jump into, it really is an extension of who you are.
Sure.
So the most amazing and rewarding thing about entrepreneurship is how much it requires you to deep dive personally as well.
Yes.
Like all these things I said about having to build myself up with a fitness routine, with a disciplined routine, like all of these translate into my business, into my entrepreneurial life. And for me, entrepreneurship has always been something that I was just doing before I even knew what that word meant.
I was just going to ask you, let me back up for a second, because I asked the wrong question, is what got you into that? Because obviously I've known you my whole life, and I always knew that the traditional 9 to 5, wasn't a route that you want to take. But I guess what gave you the courage to start? Or like what got you intrigued about becoming your own
being
boss?
In full control.
Yeah.
Being in full control. That's it. Like for me,
that's what I earned, bro.
For me, it's just being in full control of my life. I want to, dude, we only get one life, bro. We only get one life, and I don't want any of my time robbed from doing something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt, man.
No,
it just hits so close home because like I'm 34 years old. I've been in the corporate America pharmaceutical sales for the past 11 years, man. And I mean, it's not me. Mm-hmm. Hasn't been me. It won't ever be me. And I continuously go down the same path. I've chased salaries. I've chased money. And I'm just being authentic, man. And I look at guys like you and other people that are living true to themselves. And that, like, what do you think my biggest, like, how did you get over that fear? Because I think that's a very important topic for you to talk about is how did you get over that? Because like, I can't get over it for myself, and I don't want to live my life. I mean, I'm still young. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I guess my point is, how did you know at such a young age that you wanted to do that? And I even wanted to do that. How did you have like what's the word I'm looking for? The courage to.
No, I got you.
And not this instability. That's the word.
Yeah.
I mean, no one goes into entrepreneurship saying, "Oh, I got this." It's like, it's easy to get a paycheck every 2 weeks from the same company. It's different for you. So I guess to further that question is, how did you take that risk? And like, what did you do? What did you do to, get there?
Well, just to be honest with you, and I don't want to like,
just
to answer this question as honestly as possible. Like for me, bro, like I guess I never really initially at a young age had that fear because of certain choices I've made in my life.
Sure.
Dude, I'm not even I can't get a 9 to 5. I can get a 5 to 9. I can get a night job. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've made decisions in my life. I've kind of always I've always engineered my life like backwards. I remember like, just to give you an example, like I always knew I wanted to sleeve the tattoos, right?
Yeah.
I always knew. So one of the first tattoos that I got this tattoo on my hand. And it looked so awkward. And everybody's like, dude, why would you? Oh, my God. Like, I remember my friend's mom, she's like, why'd you do that? And in my head, I knew that if I put this awkward tattoo on my hand, I'll commit to getting a full sleeve. Stupid mindset, but it's what it did. So from a young age for me, I just always knew that, like, dude, from school, like in school, middle school, high school, I was always blanked out. And one of my biggest skills in high school was my ability to not do something that I didn't want to do. Like if I don't care, you couldn't scare me for shit. Like, if you don't do this, you're gonna fail. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you remember me back then, but like, I got kicked out of school. I times.
do. I was the goody two shoe.
Just kind of my path and my route. Like I never really had that choice, dude. I wasn't. I went to college and ended up just going to college to party. So like for me, it was never even in the cards for me to do something like that structured. Like I could never get a 9 to 5. So for me,
were your parents were your parents strict? I'm just curious.
They were strict.
Because mine were very strict.
They were strict, but my parents are both creative people. My dad's a graphic designer. My mom's a photography teacher.
Okay, so that makes sense.
They were always very. I wouldn't necessarily say strict. To give them credit, they let me do whatever I want, like being a skateboarder. And I have to give, again, like credit to skateboarding. Skateboarding is what really creatively connected me with everything in the world. It just at a young age just gave me this mindset of like engineering my own life, my own routine, my own day-to-day routine, seeing the world with the way I want to see it. And then also just seeing like the possibilities in skateboarding. I think, to answer your question pretty simply, at a young age, seeing entrepreneurship through skateboarding, seeing this thing that I'm so passionate about, that I love doing, that I'm obsessed with, and then seeing older people in the space make a living off of that, maybe not necessarily being a professional skateboarder or whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, you can pay your bills off just doing what you love to do. I'm like, whatever I have to do to get there, that's what I want to do.
I absolutely love that.
And entrepreneurship at this stage in my life, it's so reflective of just my personality of building yourself up, never quitting, finding different solutions, pivoting, failing, getting back up. Like that's what entrepreneurship is, and that's what I've done in my own life. And it's just
it's incredible.
It is.
Did your parents ever? I don't mean to keep going down this route, but did your parents ever pressure you a certain way to become?
Absolutely.
They did.
Like,
okay,
no. In a way, and they pressured me in terms of like. I even remember. No, shout out to my parents. They did.
Of course. I love my
Same like way. I'm not saying anything negative, but they were always like, it was always like, you can't do that. You're gonna do that. Like they always pushed. Like
so, but you didn't have that fear. You said
no. Well,
like did you were that mentality of like because I'll back up is you finish what you were saying.
Well, even into my late 20s, like my mom was begging for me to get like a trade job, and I'm like, that's not me. You know what I mean? And I think my first real entrepreneurial success, like my mom, she said something like, I think when I was like getting into it, she was like, well, maybe this is just who you are. Maybe you are meant to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, no, I know. But like, thank you for catching up.
But see, that's what I'm trying to tie this whole point to is through the beginning, you stuck to your word. You stuck to what you believe in from your heart.
For the most part.
For the most part, but like I
was super inconsistent though. I will say, like I mean, I worked a job I hated for 10 years, which most people don't even know. Yeah, I never said anything about it. Like, it's
fine though, but you didn't have that. I feel like the same difference. The mentality of the podcast is, I had a similar situation where my parents were like, I was fearful of my parents. Yeah. Love my parents. Shout out to them too. And ironically enough, they're both entrepreneurs. My dad owned a plumbing business for the past 40 years. My mom's a communications designer as well. She owns her own firm.
Sick.
And they're like, you have to go to college.
Yeah.
You're going to college. You're going to get a degree, a 4-year degree again. Now that obviously it's relevant in my life and it's helped me get some fantastic opportunities. But I never had that identity that was my own. And that's what I'm finding out later in life at, 34. Like I'm starting to feel like, well, what makes Chris happy? What makes Chris passionate? Yeah. And again, obviously there's the fundamentals of the gym and that's always been an aspect, but the one thing I will say, it's always been that underlying fear of what others will think about me if I don't do this route, if I don't do the corporate job. I mean, I work for Johnson & Johnson. It's a top 10 pharmaceutical company in the world, and I thought that was something that would bring me feelings of success, right? Having a nice salary, having a nice house. And I have found that, the past year, and I'll get a little deep with it, it's led me to, I don't want to say a bad place mentally, but I haven't been fulfilled with it.
That's huge.
And for you always mentioned, like, you stuck with what you believe in. And I think it's important to have somebody as a friend and a colleague to talk to understand how they've kind of progressed through that. So I guess my next question for you is, how do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, with the entrepreneurship? Are you going to get into new endeavors? Because or I guess, let me back up. This is my ADD brain. What would you say to somebody like me that would be looking to eventually follow their passions? How would they get started with that and kind of break away from the traditional 9 to 5?
Got you. So the same route that I did, the same thing I did, like I mentioned, I worked a job that I didn't like. I didn't set myself up in a position where I could get a 9 to 5. It was a 5 to 9.
Sure.
So, if I take myself back to like 2017, when I went through some things in my life, and I actually just took a break from social media, from anything creative or entrepreneurial, and it was the first time I decided to get sober in my life too at that point.
Yeah.
And I just jumped into I reconnected with the things that I love to do. I didn't know where else to really start. I've seen these funny memes. It's like when you get sober in your 30s and you're on your skateboard, like out of shape and stuff. But no, it was something similar. Like it wasn't as drastic for me, but I reconnected with like skateboarding and video gaming, and I just really just took a year off to just be a dad, grow into what I was doing. But to answer your question is, I'm working at this job that, I'm just taking what I can get at the time because I'm just beat down, bro. I'm beat down in life.
Yeah.
I'm hurting. I'm in trouble somewhat. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with legal things, and I'm just like, I'm on ice. I'm stuck. And for me, it was just kind of being like, I took some time to just take a step back, and I realized like, okay, like, this job, I don't want to be, like you talk about fear, I was scared to death to be at this job for the rest of my life. I've seen literally how it ends up for people who try and make a career out of this. I'm like, I don't want that for my life. I need to start planting seeds on a way to get out. So for me, it was just like, well, let me take control of what I can take control of right now. It was my daily life, my routine. So that's when I decided, like, that's when it was like starting to implement the things that we do now that we just talked about, like locking in, like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to work at my night job. And I remember getting coffee at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm pouring up some coffee, and they're like, you're crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, I got stuff to do when I get home, and I'd be up till 2, 3 in the morning on the computer, just figuring out what am I going to do. And
love that.
And it was when I first built my e-commerce business. So to answer your question again, like, use the time you have right now, and you got to be unbalanced. You got to be imbalanced with it. You might have to cut some sleep out. It's harder though than we get, but you might have to cut some sleep out. You might have to scale back, in certain areas of your life, like. I'll say this right now. Like, I feel like showing up to the gym and half-assing it is better than not showing up at all.
100%.
So maybe you got to do that for a little bit in your life. So, like, for somebody like you, I would just like start to, like, whether it be just 1 hour, 2 hours, you just start to like pick something, start trying to dive into something, and then just put a little bit of effort into it day by day. I mean, even on a financial scale, when I built my e-commerce business, I would even just set aside a little bit of my check every week to invest into that business until eventually I had like a little place to start. And then, long story short, the next thing you know, you've got an escape window. Okay, I'm at this job. I'm gaining more confidence because I know I'm working on this thing on the side. And wow, it's actually starting to work. And then I built myself an escape window where I can, all right, it's time to go all in on this. So, like, just managing your time, like, dude, for guys like you and I, we have multiple kids. We've dealt with things. We've got back injuries. Like, if we can figure out a way to allocate our time and just to dive in and start something, that's the way you do it. Like, I communicate with people all the time where I don't have time, I don't have this, and like I literally can't even compete with that. I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear it. Like, you can always find time to do something, especially when you're passionate. I think passion outburns everything else, dude.
100%.
I think you can be talented, you can be smart, you can be hardworking, but if you're not passionate, like, you're gonna end up just burning the wheel,
100%.
But I think just like really just starting, going in on something, and just starting to figure it out little by little, and stacking that up and building momentum.
No, I love that.
That's another thing I've realized in life too, especially at this point in my life too, is momentum is so big, dude. Just like starting with this, starting with that, and just letting it all accumulate. And just stay.
I love that answer, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
But like, dude, I mean, on like, just to give you some credit too, like, there's also nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5 at all. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with it. I used my job to fuel my entrepreneurial ventures. Because for me, like,
no, it's got its pros. Like and cons. I said, I'm not gonna bad. It's got. I just want to
say, like, because like I did my life kind of backwards. Like, I started having kids at a young age, and so unfortunately my responsibilities hit before my entrepreneurial skills did. Before I, so I was in positions where I had to do things I didn't, go to jobs I didn't like or things like that. But like, I have a really, really good friend who works 9 to 5, and he's like, dude, I could never do what you do. I could never live my life the way you do. And I'm like, same here. And we both have this mutual respect and understanding
100%.
that, like, he's like, dude, honestly, I like to clock in when I clock in when I clock out.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think as long as you're, like you said, fulfilled, happy, like, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you get it. It doesn't matter how you show up for your family. As long as you do, like, who cares? Like,
100%. No,
because I just want to say, because I think there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of that culture of, like, oh, you work at, it's like, dude, shut up, dude. Like, come on, this is real life, real world. I'm not rich. I'm just like, I'm stressing to pay the bill. Not stressing, but I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's on my mind. I'm always constantly worried. I'm not securely set up. I'm fighting, but I like that. That's what I love to do. I like to fight. I like to have control of everything. And I like to be, that was what I hated about my job. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to be the leader in this group. I got to be the hardest working in the room, and we all get paid the same. Like, that's not it for me, man. Like, I like to just be in control of everything in my life. If I'm doing really bad in my life, it's because I'm not showing up. If I'm doing really good in my life, it's because I'm showing up.
For sure.
So this is just like what I love, what I prefer to do. And it's been so inconsistent for me. There's so many times I've quit my job, gotten scared, gone back, quit my job, gone broke, my business failed, went to zero.
I've done the same thing.
Bought a house, had to learn how to do that.
I've done the same thing.
Broke for the first year or two, behind on my mortgage, had to just like lock in and figure it out. You know what I mean?
I will say, it's just
like, none of it is easy.
Never quit a job without having another job lined up. I've learned the hard way.
Dude, I learned the hard way too. I quit a job with savings and a business, and then just watching that go through it. Like, my first business, when I was just, I refused to like, it was almost like, when you're going bald and you're like, no, I still got it. It's like, dude, I like failed, went to zero, took a loan, went to zero again. Yeah, and I'm like,
facts.
Bro, it's over. Like, I'm cooked. Let's start something else.
It's so true.
Yeah. So it is what it is, bro. But like, I would just, because you said, hypothetically, either you or somebody else in a position, it's just use what you got to get what you don't. You got a 9 to 5, dude. You got income. You're already doing better than somebody who doesn't have a job.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You got income. It's just a mental shift of being like, because that was the thing about me. Like, I'm sitting here bitching and complaining about how I hated this job. I still showed up every day with a huge grin on my face, super positive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I always knew that this, like, without this, I'm never gonna have what I want. Yeah, I got to show up, do the best I can, leave this place better than how it looked when I came here. That's my mindset. Did I do it every single time? No, we're only human. But
100%.
That's what it was
I'm the
for
same
me.
way.
And I would say, just to go even further than that, maybe shift gears too.
Yeah.
Something you said about fear, like something that's been huge for me within the last couple months is something I really discovered is operating. I've made this full commitment. I even talked to my fiance about it. I'm like, dude, you know, I'm putting my foot down. I am no longer operating and living my life out of fear. I'm living it in faith.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
I'm not going to be scared anymore. And then to get into it, like, especially, you know, deciding to lock in and get sober. It's like those two concurrent things.
I want to talk about that next.
Yeah, I got a good question for you. So, but those two concurrent things within the last few months of my life, committing to being sober and clear-minded and to committing to living my life out of faith, it's like I finally feel like I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to do.
100%.
Because I just feel like everything's clicking and I have no reason to be anxious or depressed or worried because I know I'm showing up, I'm doing the absolute best I can, I'm sober, I'm clear-minded, I'm on top of everything that I can control, so why would I give any energy to worrying about something I can't control? And it's just given me this ability to be so calm.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally just living in a state of like tranquility because
without
I'm just like,
what made you decide? What made you decide to?
At this point in my life,
I'm curious.
For sobriety, it was just like, you know, the cool thing about this point in my life, bro, I didn't hit any rock bottom. I didn't crash my car.
You don't have to.
No, yeah, I just was like, dude, everything's actually going good in my life for now. Maybe I should really double down on that, lock in, and just 100%. I just felt compelled internally. Like the last few times I was drinking, I was like, dude, this ain't doing anything for me. It's not serving me anymore.
It doesn't. Yeah.
I want to see, and like I'm like things are going good. Why don't I really, really lock in? And I just felt called, and I felt obligated to just go through this phase of my life completely clear-minded and doing the absolute best that I can to show up and be on top of everything that I can control. So that way, if I lose everything and everything's failed, I know, hey, I gave it my best effort. I was clear-minded. I was sober. I showed up every day. I wasn't messing around, blowing my money drinking and being sloppy. I'm like, you know, so that way, if everything goes bad, I know I did the best I can, and I won't even be stressed or worried or sad. If everything goes great, then like, let's go. And everything's better. And so, you know, for somebody like you, dude, you've been sober. You're stacked up now. What are you, 11, 12 years?
11 years on the 15th of November.
So that's what I want to ask you. So like, you know, because for me, I'll just say real quick for me, like I've gone through like different phases of like for me, I look at it as like, all right, I want to be locked in. I want to be sober. I want to go clear for now. And definitely right now at 36, like I'm like how good it feels. Like I almost feel like I honestly just couldn't imagine reintegrating like even just casually drinking into my life.
It's now, I mean, it's.
I don't think I don't want to like set myself up for failure or put too much pressure on myself.
You can't.
Yeah. So like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, I'm never gonna drink again.
No,
I don't know.
You can't.
You know, who knows? But like all I can say is it's amazing for me right now in my life. It's been just that little change, that little tick, that little box I ticked off. It has just done so much for my life,
you're
bro.
Spot on.
And so I wanted to ask you, like, you know, being 11 years sober, like, how about for you? Like, how old were you? Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like, what was like the initial thing that you were like, I got to go sober? And also, how has that been in terms of being a father, being in a relationship, dealing with stresses of work? Like, what are things you do to like stay on top of that? Like, do you still feel like you should be sober? Do you ever think about, hey, I could drink casually? Like, you know, how is it for you? Like, what do you feel about that?
No, I appreciate it. That's a loaded question, man.
It's a loaded question, but dude, you got 11 years stacked up and you got a lot to say about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. What I will say to answer the first part of that question was, you know, number one was I was going down a bad path. I was living in New York City on my friend's couch, rent-free, drinking every night, severing relationships. I had a previous relationship in college that I ruined because of my drinking. And again, you know, it was a reflection of me. I think the key moment where I decided to get sober was, I'll never forget, it was the 15th of November. I woke up completely hungover. You know, I was getting the withdrawals, the shakes, like puking, not to get into the graphic details, but for sure. I woke up and I had something in my mind saying, like, you know, it's either going to be, this is going to be the rest of your life or you're not going to make it. And for me, I just knew in that moment that something clicked in my brain. I'm not saying it's that easy. Like, you know, I'm sure people struggle, but it was like, this is not going to work for you ever. You don't have that off switch. You're a 0 or 100 person. You've always been like that through athletics, through your mentality, your mindset. And it was that one moment, like I said, that clicked. That first week I stopped drinking was awful. Literally had withdrawals, and it was shaking, like just getting sick, anxiety, everything, just like thinking I was, you know, dying. And
were you with your wife back then when you got sober?
Yeah, no. So I'll get further. So I was coming home for Thanksgiving break. This is a true story. I had 3 weeks of sobriety, literally 3 weeks, and I was on Tinder on I-90 coming home from
Bro, I know where you're going with this.
No, so listen, this is crazy.
I know.
My wife's going to visit her sister in Long Island, and I had my Tinder radius set for 100 miles because I was a dog back then, and I matched up with my wife at the time, or a picture. And the first thing I said to her was, I said, "Have you found love on Tinder yet?" And she said no. And then the second question was, "We should grab a drink sometime." Now this is gonna blow your mind.
That's what you said?
Yeah. Because I was only 3 weeks sober, and I didn't have the clarity or the brain. I mean,
and that was the only way you knew how to,
brother. When you're 3 weeks sober and you've had 8 years of heavy drinking every single night at the rate. I mean, dude, we could tell.
Yeah.
But she goes to me, "No, I'm actually a year sober," and in that moment, bro, like I had I can go on the crazy perception that I wasn't going to be able to find somebody that I was attracted to sober. I was like, oh, choir girl, church girl. And these are all misconceptions when you're 23 years old. You're like, the world doesn't work. The world does not work like that. So when she said those 3 words or whatever, I was like, oh, great. I'm actually 3 weeks sober. We actually met up 6 weeks later when I was coming home for Christmas break. We had a great time. And that was my first real time in my life where I was completely sober and like just didn't know how to talk, and it was just awkward. Like, you're like,
I relate to that heavily.
Yeah. So when I got to know her and experience her, and then I asked her what she went through for her journey, and it was incredible. I ended up moving back home in January of that year to actually move into an apartment with her after only a few months of knowing her, and then obviously a year and a half later we had our first, which was unexpected. I was 25 years old, very young, but no, man, sobriety, I feel like for me it was more of a calling, right? Like I didn't.
That's how I feel too.
I just didn't know where I was going to end up, and they used to call me Jekyll and Hyde because I never had that like off switch. It'd be like this like normal functioning Chris, genuine guy, and then like I would become a monster. And I think a lot of people like yourself, a lot of people out there in the world, they deal with that too. And some people never get the second chance. And for me, it was like that one time I was like, I knew. And to answer the second part of your question is, how do I instill that in my day-to-day life now? It's like, whatever happened that night or whatever relationships I severed, I knew deep down that, that was, it hurt me. And I don't like to use the word hurt. I feel like hurt's like I don't like to be hurt. I like to be a tough guy, but
no, I get it.
It hurt me immensely. The people that I hurt, my family, I've ruined some holidays. And again, I'm not talking about the past. I've made amends to everybody in my life. I'm happy with where I'm at now, but do I think about drinking? Absolutely, man. I mean, you got four kids, you're stressed, work, and you don't, and the gym is a great outlet, right? But like, there's no off switch to my brain, and I've always dealt with anxiety since a young boy, and it's very hard to wrestle with those demons when you don't have that substance that completely shuts that off for the 4 hours or 5 hours where you're in a different state. But I think the most important thing for me is, it's another cliche. It's taking it one day at a time, one day at a time, and even if you have those urges, always distract yourself, to your point, or, spend time with your family. But I think at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer. And I don't look at it like, it could be 3 months sober for you or 11 years for me. Do I think about it? Yeah, absolutely. I've struggled with other things too. I'm not going to pretend like I'm, a saint. Gambling was a big one. Past couple of years, I got into some issues with gambling, you just blowing too much money because it was a distraction. But at the end of the day, I think it's really what you do to set yourself up for success on a daily basis and to kind of fight those urges. But again, there's a lot of support groups. I've never really utilized like AA, but I have a lot of friends through college that are sober as well. And they say, you know what, you should try AA. I just always felt like I was on my own path. And for me, whatever clicked in my brain that day, it was like, this is it. And I haven't looked back. Do I think I can drink again? There's always that thought. Yeah. Do I think I have a couple casual? But I think I know where that road goes so much, and it's just my life has got exponentially better without it, so I don't even think about it.
Let me ask you this, because you're still a young dude. Like, we're still young. I don't mean to preach, no, you do mean to preach. That's why we're here. Yeah. We're still young, so like, like I like to consider us still young. So
yeah, no, for sure.
My question is though, like, how much differently do you think these last 11 years of your life would be? Because to be fair, what age did you start drinking? Like, not to
ironically enough, I was 17. I was late. I was late too.
You really only experimented with alcohol
7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it was 17
in the grand scheme of things. Like, do you think, like how do you feel about that? Like for to be like 34 and it's like, okay, I drank a little bit in my early 20s, but like, do you feel like this is like you're going to commit to sobriety for the rest of your life? Like, do you feel like it was enough for you, that little small window of drinking in the grand scheme of things was enough for you to be like, I'm never doing this again?
100%.
That's cool.
And I don't say that like lightheartedly. Like I've always been the type of person that is 0 or 100. Like college, I was a 2-year All-American in track and field. Like I don't have that middle ground, man. Like whatever I do, I'm going to give it 100%. To your point, you said earlier, if you don't, it's like, I don't give a fuck, excuse my language. It's just, I just don't care.
Yeah.
So for me, do I think I'm going to commit to it for life? I know I am, because I know that route and what my brain chemistry, it just won't ever end up well. And I'll lose all the hard work. Not just the days sobriety, they're just days, but the people around me.
That's cool that you said it like that.
The people around me, man. Like, I mean, it's 4 beautiful, well-adjusted children, a beautiful wife. That doesn't come from hitting the bottle. I mean, again, it's not a detriment to people that do manage it. I think a lot of people are functioning, but like for me, it was just, I knew, and I don't judge anybody else. I only judge myself, and I just think it's scary to think where my life could have been, and that's what keeps me going, is the fear of where I could have been.
No, that's super cool, and it's nice to hear you talk about like that, because like that's something even on a personal level I've always wanted to just like pick your brain about, because like 11 years is just like, dude, you stack some time up, and that's impressive. And
dude, but it's cool. It's like, I know, but like you're looking at, and it's not, you're looking at it from like a different lens. Like, dude, it is. It's not.
Thank you.
It's not easy. Like mentally too, bro. Like it's a rabbit hole. Like some days, like I said, you'll just be like, you'll think about it. And even, I'll be honest, and this is true transparency, I actually struggled the most the past 4 months after the back surgery thinking about drinking, because there were some days where I'm like, this shit ain't getting better. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to, fully recover. But again, what's the common factor is time. Yeah. I'm 5 months out of surgery. I'm better than I was day one. Day one, I was barely walking. Yeah. Day whatever it is now, I'm back to the gym. I'm back to doing the things I love. Exactly. So to your point, it's time and consistency, man, and those are the things that are fundamentals for life.
That's crazy, yeah. And I guess just on the we talk about same difference. It's kind of like I feel like I was almost on the opposite end of the coin. Like for me, like at this stage of my life right now, about deciding to get sober and committing to sobriety was really more or less like I felt like it was more of a discipline thing for me.
100%.
I'm still figuring it all out, to be honest.
Yeah, but like, you can't put that hard on yourself. Yeah, either. For me, don't put like, that like, oh, he's got 11. It's not about 11 years.
For me, it's just like, man, I just felt like, it's like, again, like, I talk about, these entrepreneurial ambitions I had, and I'm like, dude, this just does not have any, this is not serving me at all. This isn't giving me any purpose right now. So let me see what happens when I cut this out of my life. So it was really just about committing to full discipline, committing to locking in. Like that's like what I get so passionate, energized about when I see these, some content about really just going fully locked in. I'm like, how can I refer to myself as this successful entrepreneur, this gym guy, if I'm drinking alcohol 3-4 weeks? I'm like literally a walking hypocrisy. I'm like, 100%. So let me just lock in and fully commit to this. And it's just amazing. Like, I just want to touch on the point you said about how you met your wife like 3 weeks after getting sober.
You're
and
barely
like,
sober.
I feel the same way, man. I've only been sober for a few months, but like my life has improved in so many different ways.
You'll keep seeing it improve.
And I'm excited, and it's just like, for me, it's just been a discipline thing, cleaning up.
There will be those dark times, though.
Yeah, it's I'm sure maybe because I'm only 4 months into it, but I don't even think about it. Like I can't imagine going back to that. This is like kind of my second time in the 2030s that I've decided to do this, and it feels amazing. I feel like I also have so many. I have so many good, like I have so much structure in place. I have so many things built up, so many things to rely on, so many obvious reasons to, alcohol does not belong in my life right now, especially with all the kids and just cleaning up my routine. It's just even a few drinks, messes my mind up. Like, my productivity's off, and there's, time, like, it's just like, man, let's just lock in, let's clean this up. And the other, last thing I want to really touch on, because we are running out of time here, is like,
that's true.
How much do you think, like, I don't know where you're at, like, with religion and stuff, but how much do those paths cross for you in terms of sobriety and maybe your faith in God? Because, again, like, these last few months for me, like, those two things just kind of concurrently happened for me, like, committing to sobriety. Yeah. I have a church that I have the pleasure of working with and collaborating with, awesome. So I'm, like, in church a few times a month, and just all these things just steamrolled and built momentum for me to make better choices in my life, and just made it, I really started to feel like that dumb 13-year-old kid showing up to class with shoes that are 4 sizes too big for him. I'm like, bro, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Even just having alcohol in my life, it's not a part of who I want to be, who I want to become. And whether we like it or not,
Yeah.
whether I'm an entrepreneur, you work at a job, whether you like it or not, you're a boss, bro. You're a leader. You're the father. You're a father. You're the man of your house. I'm the man of my house. And that's something that became huge in the last couple of years of my life too, is realizing like that I need to step up as a leader. I need to set a good example. I need to lead by example, because those are my true responsibilities. Who cares what I do in my business?
100%.
My family that I'm in charge of leading, that's my number one role. That's 100%. My number one position. And same thing with you. Like, we're leaders, and that's the most important thing for us to do, is take ownership and really step up as leaders, to be a leader for our children, a leader in our job, a leader in my business, a leader in my personal, whatever. So it's like, I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just think in general, how much does like faith playing into it for you? Is that the big thing for you? Not really, like.
And that's a great question too. In the new year, that was one of my biggest goals, is to be more committed to faith and believing in a higher power. And again, I don't want to get into views or beliefs, but sure. I think for myself, I don't know, it might be like a self-critical thing, but I always felt like everything that I choose to do is happening from my choices, and like there's no one, and there's no one else. There's no one else out there. It's just Chris. But again, that's also a slippery slope, because you can become very dependent on those thoughts and the processes, and it's just like I said. I think for me, it's a control thing. Giving up control to believe that there's something else higher than yourself out there is a big key fundamental step in my progression in my next decade of life, with the, because I've been struggling a little bit. Like I said, it's just, I think, it's the control thing, but obviously we can get into that next episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
I know
this is a great place to kind of leave it off, but I guess just to finish on my point there, is like, just even from a friend level, like exactly some of the things that you brought up, like those are just some things that brought clarity to me. And again, like getting rid of the wondering of like, am I supposed to be doing this? I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like diving more into faith and like sobriety, those two little adjustments made things so much more clear for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you just said, this new year, that's something you maybe want to explore.
That is definitely one of the things I want to explore.
I'm not perfect in that realm by any stretch of the means, but it's something that's always been present in my life. And the more I lean into it, the better my life gets. So it's like
100%.
I kind of feel like at some point
did you feel awkward going in like to like a community of like faith, or is it more of your own self?
No.
Did you go to like groups or?
No, because for me, it was present in my life growing up. When I was 16, bro, I was part of a Christian skateboarding team.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean? So it's always been present in my life, and it's just always been about how much have I really been leaning into it. Like I feel like I like to refer to myself as like a struggling Christian, and I feel like I'm always like a trigger away from just going full into just being a Christian, like a full Christian, like you know what I mean?
Like a born again?
Yeah, something, you know what I mean? So like, it's just always been present in my life. It's all, my tattoos have a bunch of religious stuff. I've always just been, it's just what it is for me. And so no, I didn't feel awkward at all. And that's the cool thing about, I had some, we're going a little over, so we'll cut it. But yeah, I had some experiences when I was younger that turned me off from that stuff. But yeah, maybe we'll save that for another time.
No, man, this has been great. And like I said, we come from very similar paths, but two separate minds. And this has been great to kind of converse with you and hear your
for
story.
Sure, bro.
And I love doing this, man.
Me too.
I appreciate you.
This was amazing.
Yeah, this was great.
And I think just even today proves that we gotta make this a consistent thing.
And it's funny, man. This is our first one, and
it's our first one.
I think it went pretty good.
And imagine once we start getting some guests.
Yeah. Oh, dude, guests. I'm pumped for guests.
Dude, this is awesome. Yeah, let's
awesome.
do it. So
no, I'm pumped, man.
Shout out to you, bro.
Shout out to you, man.
Congratulations on everything you got going on.
Thanks, Brody. And yo, I just want to say that's a nice watch. Where'd you get it?
Oh, thanks, bro. This is from GLD. This is kind of one of their more affordable, cleaner pieces. I don't know where the camera is; they can see it, but yeah, GLD. They're always
that's
known.
Fresh.
Thanks, bro. They're always known for like their chains, but their watch collection goes.
Dude, I
nuts.
love a nice gold watch.
Dude, just simple, clean. Yeah, this is like a daily wear piece for me. So it's from GLD. Shout out to Shop GLD.
It's sick, dude.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Fresh,
Thank
I
you.
got a cop one.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet.
But yeah, bro. Again, let's start plotting the next episode. Let's make this a consistent thing. I'm excited about this, and that's it for today on the same difference.
Me too, man.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
All right, bro.
Peace.
Let's go.